Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I'd like to thank the headmistress of Lawrence Lovedale for inviting me to share my thoughts. I hope all of you will agree with me. Next to families, schools have been playing a very major role in shaping the personality of an individual. If an individual has to be fit into the society, an individual has to be physically strong, mentally alert, emotionally stable, intellectually sharp, and to a certain extent, spiritually enlightened. All these, what I've just listed, they are the personal traits. Besides all these personal traits, there is one more important trait which has become the need of the hour, is the social competence. With over 12 to 13 years of a student staying in a school, it is the duty of every school to create conditions to make him or her to get into the society and live in such a way so that he comes on top in all that he does. And over and above, the society must not only accept him or her, but the society must recognize him as well. On this context, in our school, keeping the children in mind, we have done a very small pilot study, which of late has become very successful, called the Lotus learning process. Lotus stands for a temple built by our founder of the school, Swami Satchidananda, at Virginia, US. The Lotus stands for Light of Truth, Universal Shrine. And every endeavor that we have in our school, we start with the Lotus. Even one of the halls that we have named the Lotus Hall. Even our tennis academy, we call it a Lotus Academy. And any process that we start, we give the name Lotus as a prefix. So we have the Lotus learning process. It is all about inviting children to be the peers. Thereby, the process of learning and sharing become a very joyful experience. As I said at the beginning, the very purpose of ushering children into tomorrow's world is making them socially competent. So here we go about. So the cooperative learning is an approach to organize classroom activities into both an academic and social learning experience. Before making the children into actual learning, a lot of motivation is essential. For a very simple fact, children have a very informal way of finding friends. But here what we do, we make them into formal groups even in the class itself. I very strongly believe that an inspiring teacher should guide without dictating and participate without dominating. These are the objectives of our Lotus learning program. Interesting teaching methodologies, interactive sessions, a case study method, learning with the nature, group projects, group learning. I just want everyone in this hall to have a look at the arrangement of the class. Say, for example, a class consists of around 28 to 32 students. We group them into 7 in such a way that only the 7 or 8 will form a particular group. It is also activity-based learning. Let's talk about the process of the Lotus learning process. Each group consisting of 8 students who are good in academics, sports, and creative thinking is formed. Rather, it's a heterogeneous group. There are 4 such groups in a section, and every group will last about a term. When I talk about a term here, I'm talking about the performance of the groups are analyzed by the subject teachers, also by a coordinator. The least performing group will be dismantled and will be remixed to start a new Lotus group. What are the benefits that the children have gained? Particularly, it encourages group learning and creates positive interdependence. Please understand, as we train our children into tomorrow's endeavors, they have to have the interdependence. And we also create a fear-free atmosphere because no more he or she has to depend upon a teacher. It instills a sense of belongingness, attachment to a group, and creates accountability and responsibility. In fact, this is what we have identified. By putting them into the respective group, the accountability has increased tremendously and makes everyone a leader in his own way. Learning becomes a very joyful experience because they learn from their friends. The classroom climate becomes very healthy because no one in the respective group is allowed to disturb any teacher in a class. It improves the social skill, the adjustment, the helping tendency, caring, etc. And everyone becomes a team player, and the team spirit has strengthened. Prepare students to face problems in their life. We run a boarding school. The greatest aspect of this is, children, when they spend time in the dormitories, they spend a lot of time with the groups. So it is easy for them to share their thoughts. And it lays foundation for a stress-free learning, develops in the learners the spirit of research, and the improvement in the thinking skills. The words that are related with the cooperative learning, they learn to communicate. A fear-free atmosphere is created in this process of learning. My dear friends, this is one of the very happy occasions for our school because we stand today as the runners-up at the Under-14 National CBSE Hockey Tournament. In this, 3 of those girls are from the same peer group. So because of that, this collaborative learning and the peer group learning has made them understood very clearly of their thoughts even while passing the ball in hockey. In fact, they attribute a lot for the cooperative learning. Rather, I would say, it's from on the classroom to the field. So, learning together is growing together is very well strengthened in the process of cooperative learning. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, in ushering our children for tomorrow's cooperative learning, to me, is one of the best options. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We hardly talk to each other. We hardly know what are the best practices, what are the things that we do. We got it really kind of, close to ourselves. And I was telling him I wish things would change. And this is a very refreshing change, and I'm really happy that you're having something here. He was also telling how much we could save on just chairs and tables if we all ordered together. So that's the kind of collaborative work that the world sees as a potential as educators. Today we are living in a world where no other country has a population between 5 and the age of 25 as much as India. China's, yes, there is, but China's one-child policy has killed they have, bigger population than us, but their 5 to 25, the age group has gone down. So, we are the only ones leading the world, and we have such a big responsibility. So what I planned to do here was, first of all, I did not understand the nature of the whole workshop thoroughly, I think, before I came. But I wanted to just sprinkle a few thoughts of experiences with my travel and with my exposure to different things in education that's coming around. And that's what I thought I'll do for the next few minutes with you all, if you permit. So the first thing, again, not long ago, I was about a few months back, I was in a conference in Mumbai about design, and the talk was about designing education spaces of the future. And the architect was the one who did the Olympic, the London Olympics. They called in, if you remember, the flowers, each country lit a flower and everything got together and became one big flower. That was his design. And he also designs the buses in London these days. He designs a lot of things. And he's the one who is going to design the next phase of education in NUS in Singapore. And his thoughts on that was, I heard discussions when I just walked in about how technology has influenced people and, the kids and everything. There is nothing that a teacher can teach today that is not on the mobile. Everything that can be, learned as a subject, as a topic, is in the mobile of a child or anybody, internet. You go there, you can find topics on anything. The best experts in the world can give you. My son wanted to do a marine fish tank. There are 100 people putting videos on his association, the associates, how to clean the tank. He tapes the videos and the best guy, he puts it, and this is how the learning goes. So there's nothing that they cannot get access to. I'm not saying we are not mistaking that to be teaching or learning, but they can get access to any information that they want. And why would we want to stop them? Because that's the way the world went. We have started in the Gurukulams. We have come all the way where everything was known in the head of one person, right? The master, the teacher knew everything in his head. Even there is a saying in English villages, the people who owned land wouldn't know which is their land. They would go to the village master and ask for, which is their land. So that's the way things were. And today we are having 12-year-old and 14-year-old becoming CEOs of companies. Mark Zuckerberg at 24, he became the billionaire, the richest person in the world, and he's giving so much to the community. Why would we want to stop that progression? We have to open up to a lot of things that are around us, and the education is moving towards that. So the education space that they were trying to design is going to be collaborative, just what Mr. Ganeshan was just talking about, and it's all collaborative learning. This was an experiment conducted by Sugata Mitra. He actually put a computer with 8th standard kids in a village in Chennai, near Chennai, and was going to a school where the school system is like the regular subjects are taught for half a day, and then the rest of the afternoon is something called C school. They go to something called a C school. So they have specialized schools for areas of specialization, where they normally go to schools on a regular time, and then the rest of the afternoon they focus on the specialized areas. That's where she learned scuba diving. That's where she learned about the sea. She's passionate about it. See, this cross, the training in the minds of young people brings a lot of creativity. One example of this is, there was a hospital in UK where the pediatric, death rate after the surgery was very high. So every time there's surgery was successful, but they ended up having mortality, high mortality. So they didn't know what to do with this situation. So what they found out was there's a lot of post-operative things. Once they come out of the operating theater, they need to do a lot of things in a very short time. And that's where things were failing much. And guess what? They brought in the F1 Formula team. The race cars, how they do when the cars come in. Everything has to be done with high precision and safety within a short period of time, and the driver has to get going. So they brought that team and trained this hospital team of nurses. and the same practice was followed and the mortality was brought down by more than 70-80%. So this is the cross learning that brings a lot of creativity into children. We need to think how we can bring other aspects of, I know we have challenges, when you follow a particular board, I have this in higher education also, seeing the whole spectrum when they come, we are bound to limit ourselves with the limitations that are around us. But I think as future educators and at least the change makers, we should be thinking about going beyond that, and that's the challenge I'm seeing. And the other challenge in education is skill based. I'm sure all of you would have heard about skill based. This is a new perspective I saw in a couple of examples. One is in Thailand, where the children, when the tsunami came, there is a separate group of people where they live in the ocean. They don't even touch the ground. They live in huts built on oceans, very shallow areas, but built on oceans. And those people have this innate talent of seeing even the slightest change in water, how the water even moves, and they predicted tsunami and everything. So this is a knowledge that has come years and years, thousands of years with this kind of people. And guess what? The Thailand government is forcing these people to put their children in regular schools. How many of you agree they should go to regular school or learn their native, how many of you agree with the thought that they should be having that knowledge about the ancestral knowledge about the ocean? Yeah, there is no room for that, right? There is no room for that. The government will say, my problem is not that. They just want to educate. How many of our government schools are even thinking about such things? And the same example I saw in specialized learning, specialized knowledge available in every field, which is slowly dying away. And that's a problem for the educators like us. We may be educating people for the general job, the jobs that are coming up or something, but as educators, I feel we need to be responsible and sensitive about such things around us. If we have some community around us teaching something, we need to be around checking on this. These are all the thinking, thought process that I've picked up from the rest of the world, where the leaders in education are thinking about. And one more misconception today, I think, in the parents or anybody who talks is, they want to be, why tax the children? Let them be free, let us not make them stressful or, all those things. How many of you have heard that? How many? Academic reports, yeah, that is also there. So, they just think that everything should be coming easy. And I'm seeing that as a problem even when they come to higher education and jobs. It's a big challenge. You were talking about social responsibility in social media. You were giving rules and regulations. I was told recently by a HR of a company where they hire students, about 10 of them, final shortlisted 10 students. If they want to find a person, the world's most polluting company, environment company, Shell or whatever it may be, are they not educated? It is spinning off. Knowingly educated people get into all these things. So then what's the missing piece? Then what's the missing piece? And that is humanity. Humanity as a part of education, as we keep giving in, sensitizing them to every little aspect of humanity in whatever way we can, and sensitizing them to that is the key important thing towards the future. Because I think the whole world, they can compete with anything. I tell all my students from kindergarten to, PhD, no matter what profession you are in, if you work with humanity, you will be successful. So you cannot, underestimate the power and value of that in education. So I think we used to have civics, and we no longer have civics. The society, the civic sense, all those things, this is very, very important. And one more thing that is missing in our education system and our societal setup is acceptance of failure. And that is a stigma that is associated very highly with the entire system. So encourage them to fail. You know, being a spokesperson for entrepreneurship, I keep telling that we need to encourage failure. I mean, not to be failed in class or anything, but it's, my dad always jokes these days, it's very hard to fail these days in school. You know, we just have such a system now that nobody can fail. So I think encouraging them to fail, working with humanity, having a global vision, and the confidence that they can have, I think will take our education to the next level. In whatever way you're doing, you know, everybody is having their own creative methods and, you know, everything happening around them. So I think these are my few thoughts that I thought I should make you think about and ponder about. I hope it was useful and wish you all the best. Thank you.